of your background is you've been a stand-up comic, you've produced, you've written comedy, you've had that 20 years background in that particular area, so you're an expert in that area, but you've also taken that expertise and then you've moved that into other areas as well. So would you mind just taking a couple minutes, just introducing yourself and tell how we happen to be having this conversation today?
Well, you've done a great job in introducing me. So I did have a career in media, in television and in radio, and I was a stand-up and a comedy writer and a promoter and an agent. I think I covered almost everything that wasn't involving operating a camera or a boom microphone. And it's where I always thought I would be, to be honest. But when I was a youth, I was part of a youth movement that was peer-led. So you had to train to lead it. That's how it works. And you could be elected to lead it. So that's where I learned a lot of leadership and public speaking skills, which then moved me onto the stand-up circuit. And then by mistake, moved me into training, or back into it, as I say. I just wasn't doing it professionally. I used to do it as part of my life as a teenager. And I started running stand-up comedy courses for people who lived in areas in Manchester where they were called regeneration. And I used it as a way to build their confidence and help their speaking skills, as well as I was hoping they would become comedians, which some have, which is great. But from that, lots of them were getting jobs. They were getting through interviews where they weren't before. They were getting promoted. And I thought I should move this into the corporate sector, which I did. It took me a while to find the right way of marketing it, really. But once, you build up a reputation, people come to you. And so I've worked a lot on people's presentation skills, on their public speaking, on their pitching. And then IMA has now been added to that because, in fact, I would never do a session of any sort now without IMA. In addition, I'm a qualified coach. So I coach, all my clients are in the wealth management profession. And it's about, to begin with, their interaction with clients, because it's a face-to-face business. And then it's about business strategies and how to grow their business and how to maintain it. And also think about it from my eyes, which are different from theirs because I'm not in the industry.
And it's all about, regardless of whether it is in any type of form of communication, starting out with your background and everything, it's all about engaging with people, isn't it? And being able to, and really that's been part of your specialty throughout your career, is learning how to engage. And it's very interesting if you tie in the two. And would you mind just sharing with us a little bit how you tie in the skills that you learn in stand-up comedy and how that relates to business today?
Well, most people present. I have 3 rules. They're Ashley Boroda's 3 non-negotiable rules of presentation. And if you follow those 3 to begin with, you're halfway there. And number 1 rule is that you must tell stories. Stories are the thing that since man could communicate, or beforehand, when I used to draw pictures on walls, stories are the main way of communicating. And I think there's been lots of studies where they've scanned the brains when people are being told stories or telling stories, and the right parts of the brain light up. And we're very interested. If I say, I tell you what, James, I've got a story for you, I've got your full attention. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is that you must cause a reaction. And what I mean by that is, if I come and hear you speak, which I haven't, but if I had, I would have done exactly what I ended up doing anyway, and that was I would have come and I'm a practitioner. So you cause me to react. Lots of people have said you should set your audience's actions. And I said that was a bit arrogant, considering that you might never see them again, and how you're going to follow that through. So cause a reaction. You're so enthusiastic and they're so interested in what it is that you're saying that they say, right, I'm going to do it too. And then the last rule is, and the one in which I have the most battle over, is I don't allow anyone to use any slides at all under any circumstances, because and to me, they are the enemy of great presentation.
And you know, it's interesting because they are thought to be a sales aid, aren't they? And yet I've had an opportunity, we've had a number of different discussions on this, of where it actually distracts from the attention and focusing the attention on the speaker.
Well,
and
can I talk to you, because you know that of the 4 IMA colours, that high yellows are people who are more naturally find themselves in a sales role more often than not. And the easiest people for them to sell to, as you told me long ago, is other high yellows.
Yes.
So what a high yellows are buying is the product obviously is important, but if they don't like the person, that deal is not happening. So if you're got a group of high yellow customers, say, and you're a high yellow and they're all looking at the wall at a load of text or pictures and not engage with you, then you're doing
Yes.
a lot of damage. Whereas if they like you and you're there, then it's going
Yes.
to, well, you've got a 99% chance in my view.
Yes, yes. And this is something, as we both know, being in communication and sales, that unless you get a person's attention, you can't do anything else. And it's got to be favorable attention, doesn't it? You've got to connect with them. And of course, that's where IMA comes in. It's a universal language designed to help people connect with one another. You mentioned you're an IMA practitioner. Firstly, how did you happen to come across IMA in the first place?
I had the good fortune of coming across IMA by a client of mine, a firm of accountants in Manchester, and they have events where they invite prospects of theirs and clients to a meeting, and they're all business owners, and they discuss their issues, and they bring in guest speakers. And the deal is, in this particular case, I don't get paid to speak, but I've got the audience that I should want. And
yes.
In January, what would it be? 2015, I think it was. I had the good fortune of having a guy called Phil Hitchin in my audience. And I really bonded with him just by sitting 2 people away and smiling at him and laughing before I got up to speak. But the moment I was up speaking, his smile and his face and his nodding and all the rest of it, and I thought, this guy's really enjoying this. And after I finished it, which was an hour about how to present and how to pitch and follow my rules and various things, I asked everyone to fill out a form if they want me to follow it up. And I left. They were carrying on. I went to the gents, and as I got out the gents, this man was stood outside and went, "Make sure you phone me first." So,
so you really connected with them
instantly, and so I did. So we went to have a meeting, which was absolutely joyous. And then he started talking about IMA, and I coached him for a few sessions for his pitch, which is great now. I mean, it was already very good, and now it's great. But he talks about IMA all the time, and he can't stop talking about it, even at the point where I didn't really understand what it was. But he'd talk about a person and then say they're a high green, or they're a high blue, a high red, a high yellow. And I thought, this guy's obsessed with this, and I want to know more. So I got him one day to draw it out on a piece of paper. And I said to him, I could use this. This is amazing. What more do I need to know? And he said, only one thing, and that's to meet James Knight. So there you are. That's how I...
Fantastic. And it was something where I had something on my refrigerator in America before I came to England that said, hearts speak to hearts in actions, not in words. And we are all living magnets, aren't we? We attract what we are as people. So if you find one person you like, chances are you like your friends. And this is where, starting with Phil, he's an IMA practitioner. He introduced you into IMA. You are now using it. You've become an IMA practitioner. And how are you using it within your business?
Well, I use it in 2 ways. So in my training, which is to a group of people, and that training might be about presentation skills, but I also want them to know that the way in which they present is led by their communication style and the fact they'll have a mixture of everybody in the audience. Now, in that specific audience, it might not be 25% exactly, but there'll be some of everybody in the audience. That's a guarantee. And therefore, there needs to be something for everybody. But also is understanding when you're looking at it, if your audience is 10 or 20, where they're right in front of you, you then are, I tell you what IMA really does is made me far more tolerant, because I know now that rather than somebody behaving in a certain way, isn't because they don't like me, it's because that is their style. And once
Yes.
I've understood that, it has made me far better than I was at communicating with an audience, which is something I thrive on and I really enjoy doing, and I have to be doing it quite regularly, otherwise I get withdrawal symptoms. The other work I do is with my clients in wealth management, is for them to know what IMA color they are, so they know how they are coming across to their clients, and then to know what their clients are, so that they prepare their meetings, which are all face-to-face, accordingly. But also the follow-up is the thing where it's really come into its own, IMA, because they all know when something's gone wrong and a client's not getting back to them, it's because they've sent the email in the wrong style, in the wrong language. And when I say to them, why don't you do it like this? This guy's a high green, give him a high green email. And when they were waiting 6 weeks for one guy to come back, he came back within 3 hours. There was another one where it needed a push and it wasn't happening. So we handed it over to someone else in the practice, because the client was a high red and the financial planner in this case was a high red. He wrote to him in high red. You and I may have thought it was somewhat terse, but it worked. That's the point. So I know the client. That's why I'm using this example. And I said to him, when you get a very terse email, how do you feel? He said, relieved.
Yeah, a lot of times high reds prefer to talk in bullet points, don't they? They like to they don't like wasting time. And so as a result, the shorter the better. And that's one of the reasons they focus on the bottom line and results. So that brings us to the next point, and that is each of the 4 IMA styles have amazing areas of brilliance, but sometimes when you combine them, then there can be stress and tension because of differences in priorities, the pace is a little different, and so on. So it is something, so you're using it within your work, you're using it personally, it's helping you, did you say become more tolerant of people? Because here again, it's not something that you do to other people, is it? It's something you do to yourself, which is being considerate of other people by treating them the way they want to be treated.
Yeah, and it never fails. That's the thing I like about it. And every so often I realize I've misjudged something and thought, actually, I thought this person may have been a high blue, but in fact, they're actually a high yellow, and therefore I can just relax and be myself because I am one.
Yes.
Other times I've misunderstood. I thought somebody was a high green because of the detail in which they were demanding, and realized in fact they actually were a high red. And once I started giving it to them, in no uncertain terms as to this is it, bang, 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 goodbye, I got the reaction I needed. And I thought, all right, I got that wrong. It's just because it happened to be on a quiet day on the first time we interacted. On the whole, you don't get it wrong. Mostly, and I had a little spate of people who I had meetings with recently who said there and then, which I'm going to tell a story about you momentarily, because you did exactly the same thing, where they said, well, what IMA color am I? And I said, well, you're a high blue. And they knew that. And the same thing happens, has happened a few times in a high blue conversation, where somebody has assumed before they do the IMA questionnaire that they're going to be high yellow. Yes. And they say to me, I've come out high blue, but I thought I'd be high yellow. And I said, well, if you answer the questions in a certain way, they come out with a certain answer. However, you probably answered it honestly. You answered it with my guidance. how about this? You know that you're open. We've agreed that. So we decided you're on the open part of the 50%. So now we have to decide, are you assertive or not? And this more than once they go, I go, no, you're not. So you're high blue. So that works out.
And I know one of the things that comes back that I'm told repeatedly, the thing that people love about IMA is its simplicity. There are some amazing programs out there, but they are complicated. And with people, there are no certainties. But you've got really a special way of being able to show people what color they are within just a couple of minutes or so.
I do.
So would you mind just sharing with us to how you do that?
Funnily enough, I'd love to. Here is what I call IMA in the moment. So this is my book that goes everywhere with me. And I'm explaining IMA, and then I'll say, look, this is how it works. So I know I've seen it quite often the other way around, but I always put the assertive colors on the top because that's where it's going to end up, right? That's just the way it is. And the left brain thinking people to the left, and the right brain thinking people to the right. And I simply say that this is the assertive colors, and these are the non-assertive colors. These are self-contained, and these are open. You are two of those four things, and then I go through each one and explain what it is. And we're done. No one has yet say, "Oh, I don't understand that." Not yet. I must have told 100 people, and everybody gets it immediately, and then ask the question, "What am I?" So I have to tell them, and then I send them the link to my questionnaire as well. And, they do it there and then quite often, and they say, "Oh yes, you're right. I am a high green, high blue, high red, high yellow." And then, of course, I'm inundating with everybody they know for the next 48 hours.
Well, it's fantastic, you know, that one of the things, I just did a program dealing with Disney and Walt Disney. And one of the things that Walt Disney talked about was, first of all, create some magic or show some magic. And you certainly do that. That's part of what you do. You teach people how to be more magical, both in their presentations, make their presentations come alive, but also you're introducing something now with IMA where it helps them in their life. And I imagine you're getting some pretty good feedback from it, aren't you?
Yeah, no, it's all good. And in fact, even this week, I've been booked to speak at 3 conferences, all professional services. So I've got 5 coming in the next few weeks. Most of 4 of them are IMA completely. It's all about IMA. The other one is presentation skills. But they want IMA with that. Well, I get IMA. It gets thrown in. One guy very said, "Well, you know, why am I paying extra for IMA?" I said, "You're not. I'm giving it you as a gift. You're paying it the same. But you're getting it anyway." Everybody likes it, but I'm also, although I'm not going to talk about it now, I'll talk about it at a later time, developing to use it in other arena, and in one other arena particularly, and we're going to do some experimentation with that to see how it works, and it ties into some of the work you and I have been doing with professional services company. That's the only other thing, because I know from experience we can go on because we see so many possibilities with IMA. We're both very enthusiastic about it. But just in closing, you've got your specialties are working with people in both law firms, accountancies, and financial services. That's it.
Those are the areas where you're finding that your area of expertise is helping them in their communications, their developing self-confidence, their presentations, and so on. So if people want to get in touch with you, I know that many people are going to be watching this by answering the IMA questionnaire, so the details are at the bottom of the sheet there. But if people want to know more and get in touch with you, it's ashleyboroda.com.
It is.
So Ashley, it's been wonderful talking with you today. I've really enjoyed it. I would highly recommend anybody listening to this that if you want help in the areas of gaining self-confidence, communication skills, how to use IMA to get people to both understand, relate to, and work with people better, call Ashley. You couldn't find anybody better to be able to teach you, and also to have a heck of a lot of fun while you're doing it.
Absolutely.
So it's a pleasure, and look forward to speaking with you soon.
Likewise. Thanks, James.
All the best. Thank you.